Welcome to Ethan's Garage. Today we are at another junkyard. This time we are in Northern Virginia, sort of the southern bit of Northern Virginia, actually in Manassas. And I was looking for junkyards, and there's a bunch of small ones, but immediately gravitated to this one because this junkyard is gigantic. Let's just look at the sea of Hondas. And this is just one little corner of things here. This thing immediately caught my eye when I was walking up. My first thinking was, oh cool, a Viper, but no, a Del Sol, which is still very cool, but I will admit I think Vipers are a little bit cooler. This one has not much left on them. To give you guys some perspective here, let me put this up and look at that. This Civic right here is pretty obviously one of the hybrids, which is weird seeing just the wiring left over but no engine. Some huge wiring harnesses, and these orange wires are obviously always the indication you got a hybrid. Pretty interestingly, the Honda Civic Hybrid, the first gen, actually did come with a manual if you wanted it to, which is pretty interesting. And it was closely related to the Insight. So usually, you know, junkyards aren't the fanciest place, but usually they don't smell too bad, and this one does. And then I realized that it's because there's literally a landfill right there, hence the trash truck's gonna go in there and getting weighed and going on inside. XK8 in terrible shape. Wow. I didn't used to like these for a while, but I've grown to actually be kind of a big fan of them. They're good looking cars. They've aged quite nicely. These old truck cabin chassis would be pretty fun to take off and turn into some kind of like rat rod. Probably the best use for them at this point in life. There's not much more of use on them. This is cool. This is I think late 80s Jag. Now this is kind of impressive. Cool seeing a Volkswagen van here. I don't think I've ever seen one of these at a junkyard. I think people are more inclined to just keep them and restore them even if they're in bad shape. Alright, take a look at this gem. This is not only a Mercedes SL, it's an SL600, and although the badge is pretty much gone, it's a Renntech SL600. I mean, this thing has a tuned V12. Look at that behemoth. My God. Beautiful piece of machinery. Also, I always love those single wipers they got. Impressive piece of kit. It's sad to see it here though, but I know these things are a nightmare for upkeep. Beautiful. This thing's also fun. We got here one of the 4.2 liter V8 Audi A8Ls. One of the great things about these is they are all aluminum. So this one will probably exist here in some form for practically eternity. This one's one of the former taxi cabs for this area. Whatever the company is, has this thing of, I think, getting primarily used cars and then painting them all in the same livery, which is kind of clever because they're able to get pretty damaged and weird cars but make them all look kind of fresh with this red and silver. So many Altimas and Maximas. Just everywhere you look, more of them. It's wild. Oh, I spot something cool, and I'm almost tripping. Look at that. It's a pretty special car to see. Porsche 928. New York State Law Enforcement Union. Whoa. Of course the headlights have been taken. Not surprising. What a beauty. We've got some pony cars that have been put to rest. We've got the Camaro and the V6 Mustang, I think. And a 944. That is cool. Goes great with the 928. They deserve to be next to each other. Looks like we got some more antiques in the Volkswagen section. Woohoo! 3 bugs in a row. Actually, they're all almost the same color too. And they're all missing their engines. Shows what people are looking for. This one looks like it's been crashed and torched. We got here a car that you don't see too often in junkyards and you don't see often just in general. This is the E32 BMW 7 Series from the 80s. I'm much more familiar with the E38, and plus you see those around a lot more. Kind of a fun design though. I've always liked these but not know much about them. But I've always been an E38 fan. And that's the generation after the E38. Forgetting the model code. Someone will tell me. And here's an E38. And another. And another. This thing's pretty rad. A BMW 635 from the 80s. Very fun looking. It's very distinct. The nose of it's cool. Sure cooler when it's intact though. We got a Saturn SL wagon. This is the first generation too, which I am always quite fond of because I had one of these in my first car. It's a 93, mine was like a 91. The problem with these is, see, it looks like it's in great shape because it's plastic. But if you look underneath, the rust is crazy. But these are awesome, honestly. I think people who aren't into Saturns don't get it, but once you start looking into them, they are pretty impressive. Well-built cars. Like this old box Chevy. Look at how square everything about that is. That is so cool. Even still has an engine. Oh, you gotta love these old Bodie Caprices. Such good looking cars. We got a very old boxy Geo Prism. And this is really cool. If you don't know what this is, you should look into it. Buick Riata. That there, despite this being an 80s car, is an actual touchscreen. These things are the coolest. And they were quite expensive at the time. And thankfully now, if you're a strange enthusiast who likes weird cars, they're quite cheap. Now this is strange. Is this a crash test dummy or CPR dummy? That is the weirdest thing I've seen all day. That's actually probably worth some money. Look at all these Volvo wagons. And the one 240 that isn't. I always thought these headrests are so unique. I never know if I quite like them or hate them. But they're certainly distinct. We've got pickup trucks as far as the eye can see. I mean, look at that. Check out this magnificent machine. I'm guessing an ex-military front end loader. With this 767 maybe? I can't tell from this angle. Coming over. Let me know if you want me to do some aviation content, because I absolutely will. I'm an aviation nerd too. You know, it's contagious. You like cars, and you like watches, and you like planes, then you like motorcycles. It's a disease, and I have it. Alright, now I see a car that is easily overlooked, but actually kind of weirdly interesting. The GMC Envoy XUV. So I'm sure you guys have seen the Envoy around plenty. They sold tons of them. But the XUV is this weird opening top roof truck bed thing in the back. Incredibly strange, slightly longer wheelbase, I think. And this rolls down, and it's kind of like the other attempt at some kind of Chevy Avalanche type thing. Wild vehicle. So if you guys are liking this video so far, I will link right somewhere up here a video I made doing another junkyard tour just the other day in Massachusetts. Slightly rustier cars, but still some cool stuff. I must say, I think this lineup is a bit cooler Love the design with all these Land Rovers, whether it be the Defender or these Discoveries with the little corner windows in the back. Great design. And we got a mid-engine vehicle, the fabulous Toyota Previa. Always a strange but cool sight to see these. This is a very OJ spec Bronco. And look at that, we've got another GMC Envoy XUV. They're not that common, but actually this one has a better view of the back. You can see how it's actually glassed in and like a full trunk, and I think that folds down too. And then this all, you can see the track right there where it goes up and forward, so you can have tall items. A wild vehicle. And here's the regular one for comparison. You can definitely see this one is, you know, noticeably longer. We got the Chevy Tracker. These things are awesome. I've had a bunch of experience with the generation after this. It's actually how I learned to drive manual originally. This is kind of interesting. We got one of the older, I think, first-gen Mercedes MLs. And in very German fashion, they got these pockets at the back of the hatch for storing first aid and like warning devices. Kind of a very uniquely German thing, despite this car being made in Alabama. Another uncommon one to see is the Ford Bronco 2. This is based off the, I think, 80s Ranger, and is well known for being extremely unsafe and ultra prone to rolling over and, you know, killing its occupants, small things like that. I actually spotted one of these in Manhattan a few weeks ago, which I'll post the video right here where I spotted that and a bunch of other Broncos. Standing amongst all these minivans really makes you think about just how many little kids have puked in all these vans. And now they have their proper burial. They're finally put out of their misery here. Well, not quite, they're getting picked apart. I pointed one of these out in my last video, but these are always a rare sighting, the first gen Prius. And this one's actually in pretty nice shape too. Very similar to my car actually, although technically supposedly doesn't share anything in common, which I have my doubts about. As an Echo owner myself, I never see these at junkyards for whatever reason. And this is a pre-facelift one. And this one actually has fold down seats, which mine does not. This here is a great vantage point to just see just how extensive this place is. And there's still the hill here, which obscures half of it. This is my kind of place. I feel like a car guy in a junkyard. So if you guys have any recommendations for junkyards near where you live, whether it be somewhere in the US or maybe even overseas, make sure to write that down below. I'm honestly very curious to check out more junkyards, and I'd love to know which ones you think are good. And I travel around a lot, and I'll be driving a lot around the country soon, so if you have one, let me know. I might just check it out. We got an old Taurus cop car. Well, not old actually, this is, you know, pretty recent. I think this is, I want to say it's Arlington County. I'm not sure. Some of you Nova people would probably know better than I would. We've got here the RX-8. And there's a couple more actually there. There's two there and probably some other one I'm missing. This one's in, you know, pretty intact shape. Such a wild design. It's always crazy. I remember the first time I looked under the hood of one of these, I was amazed by just how far down in there the engine is. And also, obviously because it's Ivanko, the power to weight and power to displacement is super high. So I forget if it's like a 1.5 or something, putting out all that horsepower. But it's quite impressive. And the styling of these is wild with the, you know, Dorito there and the weird door setup. Funky. Got a nice Lexus LS400 right here. And then this very luxurious convertible Lexus. How about that? You'd be the talk of the town with that. This is a car that I've definitely seen these before, but I honestly don't know the name of it off the top of my head. It's a Mitsubishi. I want to say it's like an older Outlander or something, but it's a fun design though, this compact minivan design. It even doesn't have the left door, which is classic minivan. Kind of a brilliant setup, honestly. Now these aren't too common. The Subaru SVX. The window setup on these is fascinating. Not only is there just tons of different glass, at least when they're not shattered, but the smaller inner window, like an old Countach or a DeLorean. Fun design for sure. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely think I need a wall of partially crushed cars in my yard. The neighbors wouldn't like it, but man, I would be so happy. Well, I must say I've quite enjoyed my stroll here through this massive junkyard, and I hope you guys have as well. If you're looking to see more things like this, I would highly recommend that you subscribe. It helps me more than you know. Any of these channels you see that have less than 1,000 subscribers, like mine currently does, all the ads you get, that's all going to YouTube. I don't get a penny of that money. So even if you hate my channel, even if you hate this video, subscribe, because it screws over YouTube and they don't deserve the money. But anyways, thank you for watching, and look out for more videos like this. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of touring around, checking stuff out. This will not be the last that you see of me in cool junkyards. Thanks for watching.